How y'all doing today? Contrary to popular belief, this what grinding look like. It ain't pretty. It ain't nothing sweet about it, you know what I'm saying? But like it's been said before, just because it's simple to me don't mean it's easy at all. You know what I'm saying? And simple is simply something you're able to do or I'm able to do using our statements. I've been thinking about the difference between, like, how do I put it? The way things are done versus the way things actually are. You know what I'm saying? Like, people um, have a misconception of what reality is because we're human. I mean, human nature is instinct based for the most part, but we have the only access to change on this planet. You know what I'm saying? Like, animals don't have the same opportunities per se that we do. Like, we have the ability to not be a dog or not be just a gorilla. You know what I'm saying? Like, a gorilla can't be things that a dog is or do things that a dog does. You know what I'm saying? And being that we're human, even though we may come from different backgrounds or circumstances or whatever, a pawn can become a queen. You know what I'm saying? A pawn can become anything except the king of the board, per se, if we just chess, for example. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about being anything, especially someone who's great in life, is to learn how to serve. You know what I'm saying? It's like tennis, you know. You can swing as hard as you want at the ball, but if you ain't paying attention to not just the ball, but where you want to go with it, you likely just to hit nothing or be out of bounds when you call yourself being in the game, which is technically a foul. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna be fouled, you know. But anyways, just thinking out loud, I may have a unique as in my own way of looking at things, which is perfectly fine in my opinion, but most of all by God's grace. Um, I'm not too big about what's going on in the media or mainstream because I don't watch TV. So a lot of times, I use the bumblebee theory. Like, scientifically speaking, the bumblebee is too fat. You know what I'm saying? To fly with the wings that it has, but the bumblebee don't know that, so fly anyways. You know, and that's the thing. To be uninformed is to not be misinformed to a certain extent, especially in this day and age, because just because something's on the news. Back in the day, I mean, I used to believe stuff that I saw strictly on the fact that it was on TV, on the strength that it was in a magazine. You know, it seemed like that made it that much more legit. But somewhere along the lines of technology meeting the road, like rubber hitting the road or whatever, things have come to fruition that everything that we see on TV or in a magazine isn't exactly reality. And the more we're exposed to information and the world per se, the bigger view of things, the more we're able to see that, like Ghetto Boy said, the world is a ghetto. Like they said, everywhere we went, we saw somewhere that looked like our home per se. So, like, that's just an example. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, I think about stuff like this, like, what's my name in Spain or China or Egypt or Russia for that matter? You know what I'm saying? Like, if my name's Alan in English, which is the mud language to be honest, like, English is the last language. And when you go to court, they don't speak English, they speak legalese, which is Latin. You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing about the media versus the reality of life is, you know, let media tell it or internet or whatever, whatever, you know, if you can't speak English, you don't need to da 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 da. Well, even those who speak English don't speak legalese in court. And that's when you feel played, you're sitting there feeling looking dumbfounded, you know, and everyone's talking over your head or whatever. That's the power of the dollar, though. It's all politics, and when something I believe isn't a game is labeled a game, it's only because of the fact that the way it's structured seems to be a give and take type thing, you know. You never know who you're talking to. You never know why that person popped up in your life and has so much in common with you. Or, I mean, it's been times I label something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I thank God for something that was straight Satan. You know what I'm saying? And you know, say you're paying bloods at times. You know what I'm saying? A pound of flesh it costs. And the thing is, I mean, bought sense is priceless. You know, and it's not that I take those same experiences on with me when I deal with new people, but it's not too often that I find myself dealing with new people. Now, in life and business, yeah. I mean, of course, I'm gonna have to meet new people. I'm gonna have to know how to talk to different people, how to, you know, sift my way through per se. But in my everyday life, you know, my circle hadn't changed per se. You know, as far as hadn't gotten any bigger. That's for damn sure. My mind has. My way of doing things has gotten much bigger because had I known now, then what I know now, you know, I'd have made strides. However, I was telling my boy this earlier how, you know, I think a lot of things that people are taught in their family, you know, or structure wise, like it's passed down to them, it's embedded in them. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was taught to survive. So that's what I know how to do. Now, that's just the foundation, though. That's not life. That's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not success or nothing. That's survival, which is bare minimum. But for those of us who know that you could be on your way to the top and make the wrong stop, and all of a sudden everything's over. Your life is gone. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I'm not gonna make this a black or white thing, but it's a guy that I had invested in years ago. For lack of a better term, he was a white guy, and he told me something. The investment I made in in a restaurant, he was like, "Man, I got to teach you how white people think." I'm like, "What? What you mean?" He said, "I never heard that." You know what I'm saying? I'm just a grown ass man. I'm like 30, and I never had that cross my mind. But then I had to realize, for him to say that, how do I think? Oh, that's right. When I get in my car, at that time especially, you know, I don't feel that way anymore, but, and I say I don't, but most of us still do, you know what I'm saying? See the police in the review and get shook or something. I don't, you know, because I learned the law. When you learn something and you understand it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that things are still gonna not play out a certain way per se, but you're content. I'm content. And whatever space I find myself in life, I've been content. You know what I'm saying? It's learned behaviors like muscle memory. It's not something that I take lightly or for granted. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing. Everywhere I've gone, God was already there. You know what I'm saying? Like before I even got there. And you ever heard the phrase, if you know, you know? The funny thing about that is, like, for example, um, you ever had somebody say something that if they're not involved in something you involved with, they wouldn't have said that? You know what I'm saying? And because they said it that way they did, you know that having a certain conversation isn't gonna, you know, go a certain way. But for those who come asking questions or poking around per se, you know, they stand out like a sore thumb. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the phrase about the power's in the question. You know what I'm saying? Not the answer. Because a lot of times you only ask a question when you know the answer. You know what I'm saying? And for those of us or those of whoever knows that know that, there's levels to that. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's, you know, it's not to be taken lightly or to be looked at as if it's a game, because it's not a game. It's your life. Um, you'd be surprised who's watching you or who's paying attention to what you do, how you do it. You know what I'm saying? You never know who's impressed, who's inspired, who's, you know, pissed off. Or who cares, you know, for that matter, you know what I'm saying? But if we want to talk about some money, or I see people, you know, show off what they think is some money, you know what I'm saying? If it fit in your pocket, bro, it ain't no money. You know what I'm saying? If it fit in the briefcase. If it fit, period. You know what I'm saying? No. That ain't wealth, you know what I'm saying? And I asked my partner one time, bro, what's rich to you? He was like $50,000. I've been rich plenty of times. If that's rich, you know what I'm saying? Hey man, rich is the wealth of knowledge. Because truth be told, to be, I've made millions at this point in my life, over the course of my life, and to realize that and to know that when I was at my peak at one point, I couldn't go in the bank, and I'm dealing with the bank, and get a $5,000 loan. I do a $30,000 secured loan with my own money, but I couldn't get an unsecured loan for $5,000 because my credit sucked. Why didn't I fix my credit when I had the opportunity? And I knew about credit, because to not know is to not do. I mean, well, how do you do something you don't know? You know what I'm saying? But I knew about credit, but I'm like, I got cash. Cash is king. Sounds good. Nah, certain things get you places, other things don't. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like if you watch some of those movies where people, like drug people, make large transactions, and they tell you, okay, here's $50 million or $20 million. Until you see how much that actually what it looks like, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to fantasize about it, and that's a lot, man. Like in physical form, it's a lot versus a click of a button. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole different transaction. Because one time I bought 5,000 CDs, and I was like, oh shit, how am I gonna fit all that in my truck? I'm in a tower. That's just CDs, 5,000 of them. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of ones, man. So, like, my cousin told me one time that there's a lot more legal money out here than illegal money, and at the time, you know, caught myself hustling. My teacher told me in college one time, he was like, Mr. Bryce, what do you do? At that point, you know what I'm saying, I always had a job, I always worked, I was raised right, but I was living a different way, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's none of your business what I do. And he was like, that's between me and you. I'm not, you know, I had to sound good. But anyways, at that point, I let my guard down a little bit. And he said this to me. He said, you're only doing enough to get yourself in trouble. I'm like, man, you crazy. He was right. And I was crazy. Because, hey, man, the numbers got to really add up. And if you got something that's opposing those numbers in the form of time or trouble or pain and suffering, it don't add up. The risk is not worth the reward, you know. And until you work for $20 a month, even if you have the opportunity to even make that much, because a lot of niggas dead. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people ain't here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, you know, just because someone's not dead or not in jail doesn't mean that their life not on pause. You know what I'm saying? So watch who you admire. You know what I'm saying? Ask yourself some very important things. You know what I'm saying? What do they do all day? You know what I'm saying? The cats that I saw moving in the streets used to ask me, man, Brick, what do you do? Because they never, I mean, like, they don't see me where they make their moves at, but they see me everywhere they go. You know what I'm saying? It's like my day tends to go like theirs as far as they're concerned, but because every time they see me, I might be sitting still. Well, I already did everything that I had to do that day. At that point in my life, you know what I'm saying? That was the difference. Like, I get up real early because I be up so late that it's early. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I had prayed one time for God to bless me to be uh, successful the right way. You know what I'm saying? And I I got that. You know what I'm saying? And so I know how to make money and make it legally. You know what I'm saying? And ain't had a thought about gambling in years. So I mean legally legit without a strike of luck. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about just straight grit, straight grind. But this, most of all, and that, first of all, that's what time it is. You know what I'm saying?